Hello, I'm Heron Michelle, and I am videoing from my recliner chair where I typically sit with my laptop and write my books. And I've been doing a lot of writing lately on Substack, also on Pathos still on my Witch on Fire blog. But on Substack, it's more like my newsletter, if you'd like to subscribe to that. I've put a few things out, mostly promoting the online course that we've been creating now for years and years. But I know that a lot of folks out there these days don't really look for their content in the written form. They're looking more for video or audio formats. And so I thought I would read some of the more recent blogs so that it could be in my voice, and maybe we'll add some extra commentary to it. I recently posted on both my Substack and my Witch on Fire blog on Pathos Pagan about how I'm now teaching modern witchcraft online. And I started with some questions, have you been looking for the deeper lessons of modern witchcraft? Have you been seeking a mentor or a course of instruction that you could trust? Perhaps you're seeking friends of like mind with whom you can share this trip of spiritual awakening you've been on. I looked for these mythical guides for nigh on 15 years before I found them. Even then, my way was fraught with disappointments. My search began way back in 1991, before the internet existed. Well, before it existed to witches like myself. So long and so lonely was my search that I later made it one of my vows as a priestess to provide the responsible, ethical witchcraft training that I once sought so desperately. But I vowed to provide it openly to all seekers and make it easy to find. Here we are 33 years later, and I'm pleased to invite anyone in the world to enroll in my new online course, which I call The Pinnacle Path of Elemental Witchcraft, at heronmichelle.com. I've been teaching modern witchcraft since 2009, and it's been a very long and twisty road for me. I started way back in 2009, inviting relative strangers to join me on Thursday nights in this little classroom we had at the back of the Sojourner. It only sat 13 maybe if you were willing to be uncomfortable, and 10 if you wanted everybody to have plenty of room to spread out. Back then, I didn't so much teach a class of my own creation as much as I organized and facilitated a 48-week course to folks in person. What I lacked in official witchcraft credentials, I made up for by being a good researcher, a syncretizer, and a presenter. I called that course Modern Witchcraft 366, a year and a day in the art, science, and spirituality of earth-based religion. I based those 48 lessons on several self-guided books from Llewellyn Worldwide Publishing that were new at the time. Those were the Inner and Outer Temple of Witchcraft books by Christopher Penczak, Wicca, A Year and a Day by Timothy Roderick, and Paganism by Joyce and River Higginbotham. Like shuffling 4 different oracle decks together, I collated their lessons by topic and presented them in an order that made more sense to me, in a structure based on the tides of the seasons as we were experiencing them. I led their meditation scripts and exercises, and then I would provide the materials and do demos of their spells, and I would lead their rituals. For a decade, I turned the wheel of the year this way. Teach 48 weeks of classes, lead 8 open Sabbats, host self-initiations around Yule, then start all over again before New Year's Day with a new batch of seekers. Repeat, repeat, repeat. From those initiates who hung around to help, a coven of independent witches eventually formed. And we called that the Sojo Circle. I was proud to serve as the founding high priestess for 5 of those early years. 3, and then we passed it on to others, and then eventually it was my turn again, and 2 more. With each year's teaching, I would upgrade the materials handed out to students to incorporate new resources and perspectives. Each year, the material better reflected my own evolving understanding and my personal methods of witchcraft. The program changed a lot over that decade, in large part to all that I learned from the many diverse students who joined us in that little classroom. By 2019, I'd passed the teaching torch to one of my early students, her name is Webweaver, who'd by then also made vows as a priestess. And with her husband, they'd even taken over the helm of the coven as the high priest and priestess. That allowed me to step down. For a long time, I'd felt called to write my own textbook to accompany the Modern Witchcraft 366 course and to seek a publisher for that manuscript. Year after year, I'd step up to the Imbolc altar and I'd promise Hermes and Aphrodite that I'd finally pull together that manuscript and shop it out, but I never got very far. In 2018, they took matters into their own hands, I presume, because an acquisitions editor at Llewellyn reached out to me. They were familiar with this Witch on Fire blog that I write, and they asked me to write a book for them. I pitched this 3-book series of my dreams, which I called The Pinnacle Path. Well, at first I called it The Pinnacle Approach, and then later I started to call it The Pinnacle Path. It laid out the Wheel of the Year system that I'd been developing with the Coven in 3 layers, so a 3-book series, and they would be the elemental, lunar, and solar witchcraft books. I started trying to write the lunar one first and ended up going back and going, nah, I gotta write elemental first. So we switched it around a bit and it took some time. And lo and behold, the Wellens sent me a contract. I could define my own methods of modern witchcraft and completely overhaul and refocus that original class as I had wanted to for a while then. Thanks to the magic of personal sovereignty, I'd finally found my own witching voice and style after all those years. Then in March of 2020, COVID shut it all down. All the in-person classes and the public gatherings that we held, they just stopped. For me, it was like hitting a giant reset button. We all needed a little break, I think. The newly available time, solitude, and headspace allowed me to produce that first manuscript at long last. So Volume 1, Elemental Witchcraft, was born in December of 2021. It weighed in at a whopping 445 pages. I'm currently working on Volume 2, Lunar Witchcraft, again, trying to pull that together and get it sent in. And I'm very excited by the juicy new magic coming into form there. Eventually, Volume 3, Solar Witchcraft, will explore the 8 solar Sabbats more in depth and how I like to weave those mysteries throughout the year. At least that's the plan for now. And by 2022, I wanted to support that first book with a new and improved course for new students. By then, COVID had sort of opened up the world and people were asking for classes again. Some were looking for in-person, but mostly people were asking if we teach anything online. This time we needed to overcome the limits of in-person gatherings that very few of our local people were willing to risk anyway. So with the help of my associates at the Sojo, especially my dear friend Kayla, who has been instrumental in recording and editing and creating the website for that new course. And my life partner, who musically, with his meditation music, is known as Pranavam Das, we began recording the meditations, which he would set to his original compositions. And then we began building a new author website at heronmichelle.com to host that course. That first 18 months that we had the course online, which was from August of 2022 through March of 2024, and we did begin with a weekly sort of live streamed through Facebook groups introductory course that then became an online course. But we started in August of 2022. We tread the Pinnacle Path together online with all of these new friends from all over the world. There were witches from all over the USA who tuned in. There were witches in Switzerland and Greece and Belgium who joined us for part or all of that first year. We all supported each other as we explored the Pinnacle Path system from my book. And we basically went through it together as I had intended that guidebook to go. Their feedback through that first year of the course was invaluable. And since then, Capella and I have applied what we had learned from all of their comments and all that we had experienced together. And we polished it up again, new and improved. We changed up the format a little bit, and we've created this new website to make it a form of self-guided study. As of August 2024, so last month, we've opened up those virtual doors once more and started accepting in new students again. So after 15 years since I first started teaching witchcraft, we're now enrolling new students. It took 13 years of preparation and 2 years of production, but here we are. The doors are open. New students are already beginning the course. We offer over 90 hours of beautiful videos with all the instruction, rituals, demonstrations, all the spells in the book, all demonstrated, illustrated, with additional support documents, all the ritual meditations recorded beautifully. I voiced those scripts, and then he composed the music, kind of like a theatrical soundtrack. And then we, in the course, we provide those MP3s with my voice of the meditations exactly as the scripts say in the book, but we've also included just the instrumental versions so that people can put them in the background while they're doing their own thing and let that become the soundtrack of our magical lives. So with the course, we've also included downloadable files of over 100 additional support documents and graphics that I've created to illustrate, and that Capella has created to better illustrate the book. There's limitations on how many images you can put in a printed book, but on the website we're able to add all of that in. So if you're a visual learner, we have plenty there for you as well. But I've also written over 300 articles on my Pathos blog and written for other publications along my witching journey, and so I've sort of cultivated a set of support documents that further illustrates all of the information. But I've also included the handouts from the old what we called MWC 366 course, especially those that were on topics not necessarily included in Elemental Witchcraft. For example, the documents about the Sabbats have been included there. Best yet, I could finally put back in all the chunks of the book that we had to edit out due to size restraints, so those are back in there. The fun part is the Discord server, where we make ourselves available for discussions with students, sharing our triumphs and concerns, and making friends who get it. I've now met many of our original students at national conferences that I attend, and several of my former students from MWC 366 who've moved away or were just interested in seeing what the new things were have come back and taken it again with me, and that was a lot of fun. Most of those students have stuck around on the old server and will be there available to continue to chat and hopefully guide the new seekers as they do the work this year. What does something like this cost? Well, for such a massive scope of work, there were many thousands of dollars invested already, and many more expenses are ongoing to host a course like this. In fact, it's probably way more expensive to host an online course like this than it is when I was just inviting people to join me at my shop that I was already paying rent on before. What would be a fair exchange? Every teacher must assign a monetary value to their work at some point, and you need to arrange some sort of fair exchange of energy and resources to keep these opportunities possible. But how much is fair? Back when I taught the classes in person, we charged between $5 and $20 per instructional hour per person to host them at my shop. For 18 months worth of the old class, the old MWC 366 course, $1,080 would have changed hands eventually. But that was a long time ago and a whole different economy back then. So for this 18-month long online course, we have decided to ask $693 in 3 payments, which comes to roughly $7.70 per instructional hour of video. And if you're an enthusiast of numerology, you'll understand the significance of these numbers. They reduce down to 9, which is a lunar number, and 5, which is also Mercury's number, but for the Pinnacle Path, that seemed about right. The income from this course does go to pay for its production and hosting, and then supports our brick and mortar metaphysical shop back in Greenville, which is called the Sojourner Whole Earth Provisions. It also helps to pay our employees a living wage because, we're full-time witches doing this work. In this way, our mission, our shop mission to support the local witches and pagans and other magical spiritual people that, we had a mission to support them in person, and so that helps us to continue to do that work also. I do hope you will decide to join us for our next journey through the Pinnacle Path by registering for the course over the 2024 through 2026 cycle. It does overlap the year, a little bit here, a little bit there, in order to do the entire book, and it is starting already, so now's a good time to jump in. There's the first 2 sections of preliminary foundational information to get through, to understand, to build up the why, the who, what, where, when, and why of what it is we're going to be doing in section 3. Section 3 is the practical application, which is key to the Wheel of the Year, and the dedication rite for that work to get it started is at the morning moon. That's the full moon closest to Samhain, which this in 2024 falls on November 15th. Best celebrated the night before if you're here, in North America. Maybe November 14th would be the better night, just so that you could celebrate the full moon in the evening, but after it's in the correct signs. And the morning moon is all about the moon being in Taurus while the sun is in Scorpio. So November 14th is when the dedication rite starts, which gives us first 2 modules of the course. We need time to lay it all out and get ready for that dedication rite, so best to start that now. Until then, there are those 2 modules of introductory classes in preparation for the first ritual, and they start at the very beginning. So if you're a new witch and you've never done any of this sort of thing before and you'd like to figure out what it's about, then especially if maybe you understand some witchcraft, but every tradition's a little different. This one's based in Hermetics, so this will give you a foundation for that. But we do go in pretty deeply, pretty quickly, and I have a very unique approach, I would say, to how to apply the craft in these ideas to your life throughout the Wheel of the Year. That's pretty new. So if you've been doing this for a long time, I think there's plenty to keep just about any witch at any level of expertise interested. It'll give you lots to do, lots of new ideas, and lots of good spells and rituals to try, which help to balance us along the Pinnacle Path. The 5-fold self is what I call it. Get our physical lives, our emotional, mental, spiritual lives, our will, applying our will effectively in our lives. Get all that straight. It's all about balance with the elemental witchcraft for me. There's lots to be doing. There's plenty of introductory videos available on heronmichelle.com, which gets you started to show you what it's going to be about before you'd have to worry about enrolling or paying for it. There's even a free downloadable PDF of the first 2 chapters of the book. So if you don't have the book yet and you want to see what my style is like and what it's all about, there's even a downloadable PDF. We've got a fair few videos, like I said, up on the website of me talking about the course to check that out. Until then, I welcome you to join me on my Substack, my YouTube. Check out my Witch on Fire blog, which is easy to find at witchonfire.net. I've got over 300 free articles if you'd like to know what my style is like. Until then, I hope you will check it out, consider it, and then eventually enroll and join us along the Pinnacle Path of Elemental Witchcraft. Thank you. Blessed be.